So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about what is blockchain. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of them in general. And we're going to talk about what is an NFT. And then we're going to talk about who is buying them, why, and where are they. Okay. So getting into that, does anyone have any questions about the environmental impact of NFTs, or really of blockchain, or the crypto market and the NFT market in general in terms of bull bear? You could say no also, so that I don't have to like wait, but I'm using these excuses to water my mouth, to water my tongue with melting ice. Is there a blockchain for beginners? That's a good question, Jen. No, there's not. There are blockchains that are more technically intense on using, but even Cardano, which is quite literally, I think it's the most technical base that you would need to operate on the blockchain. Even Cardano has evolved quickly over the last few months. That is going to be just as easy as going to Etsy and putting up your art. Okay, it really isn't that hard. But I think there are things you need to understand about Web3 and blockchain in order to really behave and interact with this new environment safely. So what is blockchain? Okay, a blockchain is a decentralized ledger. So basically what that means is, just like you guys used to have checkbooks that you wrote down all the ledgers in, that's what you have. That's what blockchain is, but it's public and it's immutable. You or anyone else could never go back to one of your transactions and cross it out or smudge the ink and change a number. No one can do that to your transactions, and neither can you do it to your own. That's what it means to be immutable. So Bitcoin does this and only this. It tracks transactions, and then it pays the people who are verifying those transactions in Bitcoin, creating a currency that runs on the internet. Okay. And that's all it does. Tracks more transactions, pays out more Bitcoin, and those numbers are limited. The number of Bitcoin is limited, and that can't be changed either. So it becomes a very measurable, finite tool for tracking wealth. And that's all Bitcoin does. It's a decentralized record of transactions that cannot be changed. And I'll go over a little bit more about that in a second. So what we are used to is this idea of centralization, where when I slip my card into a card reader and I buy something, the data of what I bought, the data of the transaction goes to this bank here. The bank does whatever it wants to do with that data in the background, and then I get a receipt back. Okay. And this comes with a lot of problems. Okay. Problem number one, we don't have any access or control over our data. Because when it goes from here into the bank, this is called a gated garden. So when things have passwords and paywalls and all that stuff, everything goes behind the garden, and we can't get in and see what they're doing with our data or claim ownership of that data, right? So that's problem number one. Problem number two is having a central point of converting all of this information is a central point of failure. So when I transact with Chase Bank over the internet, basically my data goes to one place, gets crunched, and then I get reported back, hopefully, what it is that I asked for. The problem with that is those data points can be attacked. And because there's only one or two places to verify or to keep that data secure, when someone changes that data, we can't, and there's no way of seeing that falsification of data from where we are sitting on the outside. And then problem number three is that the people who run this could be assholes. Basically, the people who run our businesses or who run and control our data are an oligarchy that we have no control over. We have no leverage over how they use our data and no purview over what they are doing with it. So this is the centralized system that we are used to today, and it has worked, okay? So Facebook, all the social medias that we interact with, any of the businesses, we go into their system, we log in with their system to their thing, and they control all of the data we use. And that's why we've had a free internet mostly free internet up until this point, because we're exchanging the usage of whatever it is they're offering for the data that we're giving them. which is whatever comes with whatever tool we're using. So they can pull our age, our demographics, whatever. They turn that data into marketing tools that they can sell. And personally, I don't see all that much wrong with it, but Web3 is going to give us a hybrid that where we can choose to do that or we can choose not to. So I got ahead of myself, but there's no transparency, single point of failure, and we have no control over who is running what we're doing. So decentralization, on the other hand, something I hinted at before, when we run a transaction over here, let's say we operate with the bank or I send money to Joe, instead of the bank being the mid person for that transaction, our transaction is peer-to-peer. And instead of the bank verifying that our transaction went through, everybody who's connected to the network, our decentralized network, is going to verify that transaction. So if I do a transaction with Joe and with Heather and with Jennifer, these are the faces I can see, and then someone in Issaquah and someone in Singapore and then someone in France, they're going to verify that transaction, and then it's going to go onto the blockchain. So that transaction is verified by hundreds of people or hundreds of data centers and then put onto the blockchain. In order to falsify that data, someone would have to attack every single place that verified our transaction. So this is taking the control over our security away from the people who can do what they want with our information and putting it out to the blockchain. And I said that the blockchain is a public immutable record. So we know, or we can see what is happening to our data when we do those transactions. That's why people who are focused on sort of evolving or changing the way that we live and work with the internet and with these companies and our data, that's what they really see in the future of blockchain being, is this place where there's transparency and this place where people can't fraud us, okay? So in a nutshell, that's what blockchain is. So what this was, I was supposed to talk through this as I was clicking, but basically there's no middleman and we don't have to trust anything, or we don't have to have permission. So like I said, when I want to sign into Facebook, I have to sign into Facebook and hope that the Facebook entity lets me in. In Web3 with blockchain, you don't do that. There's nobody who to say you can get in or out. I don't need anyone's permission to be a part of the internet. That's what Web3 is. It's permissionless, okay? And that's kind of a hard topic to get across or subject to consume. If anyone has any questions about that, please throw it out. So we don't have to deal with anyone who might be controlling our data for nefarious or just reasons or motivations that don't align with us. And we don't have to deal with crooks because no one can steal our stuff or falsify our things. And then we don't need permission to interact on the internet. So that's one of the major things that Web3 or the blockchain offers people. Jennifer, you look like you're not following. Are you doing okay? Yeah, okay. Like some people are here for the second time, and I understand because you have to really try to absorb this. And I'm doing my best to break it down for you. But if I need to break it down more, chances are someone else needs to hear it again too. So go ahead and ask. All right. So what is Ethereum? We talked about Bitcoin, right? Let's put Bitcoin down here. Bitcoin is a generation 1 blockchain. The first one that came out, it came out in like 2010, right after the economic crash. Okay. Ethereum is a generation 2. Second generation blockchain that is programmable. So I said Bitcoin can only track as a ledger, transactions going to and from and whatnot, right? That's all it can do. But Ethereum can be programmed on top of, it can be built upon. So that means that you can build programs and applications on the website that we can use on the blockchain. And they do that with smart contracts. And this is all important to understanding how NFTs work. So if you guys are watching and starting to like fall asleep, I want you to understand this so that you understand what an NFT is, because it's this part is really important to how you operate as an artist on the NFT space. So a smart contract is an executable set of parameters that happen whether or not that happen regardless, as long as the parameters are met. So once you create a smart contract and you put it on blockchain, it cannot be altered. So if me and Deborah are playing poker and I bet her $50 and my newborn kitten that I'm going to win this hand, and she bets me something, whatever, and the parameters are met when we show our cards, that I win, like my 2 pair versus her 1 pair in high card, right? So I win. I don't have to trust that Deborah is going to slide her chips across the table. Okay, there's nobody and there's nothing for me to trust that that our contract, whether I would win or she would win, is going to be executed, because the smart contract will do it automatically. So, and then since it's on blockchain, I can see all the parameters of the smart contract and I know exactly what it's going to do. And I don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to happen. So if I was having a foot race with Joe and I bet him a car and I win the foot race, then I'm going to get that car. And I never have to think twice if Joe's going to give me the pink slip. So smart contracts are really powerful. Anything that can be programmed can be done as a smart contract. Everything from our foot race to how a business transacts on the stock market can be programmed into a smart contract. And since I don't have to trust that Joe or Deborah are going to pay me for whatever it is that we bet, I don't have to trust this. I don't have to trust them. The whole system is trustless. So that's where that term comes from.